Welcome to Brainthropology. Let's talk about our amazing brain and the issues that get us stuck. We all have those moments where life gets overwhelming. It can be related to injury or illness, or an issue with your kids, or just because life is crazy and we need a little help and encouragement. Our team of therapists, expert guests, and clients are here to deep dive into the topics that matter most. We will share information with our listeners that encourages, educates, and empowers.
This episode is brought to you by Galaxy Brain and Therapy Center, helping clients live their best lives by implementing strategies such as those discussed in this podcast. Galaxy Brain and Therapy Center is located in Ann Arbor, Michigan, serving southeastern Michigan for in-person and community-based services. Out-of-state virtual and teletherapy services available for OT, PT, speech, mental health, and mindfulness. Check out their website at galaxybraincenter.com. Welcome to Brainthropology. I'm your host, Courtney Wang, and today I'm excited to have Jackie Farrell joining me all the way from Boston. Jackie is the manager of trainings and clinical affiliate at LoveYourBrain. LoveYourBrain is a nonprofit organization with a focus on helping brain injury survivors through building community and resilience. They focus on the whole person, the physical, the psychosocial, and the cognitive, which makes them an amazing program. I first met Jackie in February of 2020, and I was packed in a room filled with amazing people who were on a mission to help brain injury survivors. I didn't know at the time that would be the last time I would be in a big crowd of people for quite a while. I am so excited to have her on our podcast today for her to share about the program and the amazing work that they do. And as always, we love to start with a positive, and I will go first. My positive is actually, I'm going to stay on theme. It is yoga itself. I was a person who was very sporty as a kid, and I played basketball in college, and I had back pain for a very long time. And it was amazing that it was when I slowed down and practiced yoga and that kind of stuff that I have not had back pain for 20-ish years. So yoga has been a big piece of my life. It has made me feel good in my skin, and it's something that I'm grateful for. And Jackie, what is your positive today?
I could definitely just echo what you shared about yoga, but we'll talk plenty about yoga during our time together. So I will bring in my dog, who is my positive for today. I was able to take her for a walk before we were meeting, and she found this stick that was probably 1.5 feet long and just needed to carry it, another 15 minutes until we got home, and just seeing, her little tail, little feet, just her little happy face with her stick. It just, it brings me a lot of joy in such a simple moment. So that's my positive.
Animals are magical that way. Eventually we will be having a whole podcast on dogs and animals and their ability to bring us joy.
Yes.
So Jackie, can you tell me a little bit about you and how you connected with LoveYourBrain?
Sure. So I wear many hats, but my two primary hats, I'm an occupational therapist and a yoga teacher. And so I initially found LoveYourBrain when I was just finishing grad school to become an OT, and started working in a clinic actually similar to yours, where we did outpatient neurological rehab and a lot of community-based treatment, and loved that setting and found that it was really helpful to integrate something more complementary. And so I'd also become a yoga teacher shortly after that time, and started integrating yoga within my treatment sessions, just kind of informally, a little breathing here, a little yoga practice or stretching there. And then I found LoveYourBrain, and they were hosting their first ever teacher training. So I immediately signed up, met the senior director of programs, Kyla, and really since that moment, I believe that was 2015, just have dove deeper into getting involved with trainings, with leading programs, and with helping to expand and just reach more people through LoveYourBrain.
And I'd have to say, everyone I have met at LoveYourBrain, everyone is brilliant and compassionate, and it is an amazing group of people. You never know what you're getting into when you sign up for some trainings. And I really feel like you guys have done an amazing job with building community and support. And I don't know of any other class I've been to where I'm still talking to the instructor of the course years later. So you guys are amazing. So I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about the backstory of Love Your Brain Yoga. It has a very interesting origin story, and we will link some of the stuff that you discussed today in the podcast notes. But can you tell us how it all started?
Sure. So some people listening may or may not be familiar with a snowboarder named Kevin Pierce, and he was an Olympic snowboarder. He was training for the 2010 Olympics when he experienced a severe traumatic brain injury while he was training. And actually, this injury and his first 2 years of recovery were shown in a documentary called The Crash Reel, which is a really honest portrayal of what the brain injury rehab process can look like. And part of that journey for Kevin was really leaning on his family, and specifically his brother Adam. And during his recovery, Adam left his job and supported Kevin almost full time in his recovery and rehab process. And through this, Kevin, really made a lot of positive gains. And also he had lost a lot of his identity with snowboarding, a lot of physical, cognitive, emotional changes. And just through this trajectory and the years since his injury, Kevin and Adam really saw a lack of community-based resources to support both people who've had a TBI and their family and community long term. So in 2014, they founded Love Your Brain, and we are a nonprofit that's really dedicated to improving the lives of people affected by brain injury. And again, that includes caregivers in the family, because there is, that one person who's experienced the injury, and brain injury has wide-reaching effects because it does touch so many areas of a person's life. So we found it really important to include in everything that we do this lens of thinking about caregivers and just this larger community.
And I think that's a missing link in a lot of support, as so many people focus on the person, and that is very much needed. But the people who have turned in from a wife to a caregiver or a brother to a caregiver, they need support too. And it's not to take away from the person who was injured at all. It builds that foundation of support so that everyone can succeed, because ultimately we all care for each other in that way, and it really does help. So I'd love to talk a little bit about some of the programs that you guys have. Obviously, I know a lot more about the Love Your Brain yoga portion, which we can go into, but can you tell us all of the programs that you guys offer?
Sure, I will try my best to make it brief. So initially, Love Your Brain really started with a lot of advocacy and presentation-based programming just to spread the word about brain injury and gain more awareness in the community. And luckily, we're in a place where there has been more awareness building either through the media or just different channels. So there is more awareness now, which is great. And so now our programs, you can kind of think of them in a few different buckets. So first you mentioned our yoga program, and we've had partnerships with yoga studios across the US and Canada, where we offer a 6-week yoga and meditation curriculum. And we partner with these studios to offer the program in the studio. And really the goal with that has been to help people reintegrate into the community. And then, of course, the pandemic happened, and we made a big shift to now offering our program online, which evolved and grew to what's called now the Love Your Brain Mindset program. And so this is an online program that can be accessed in different ways and can either be accessed just on your own at your own pace, or can be accessed with a live component over Zoom where you get to connect with other people and discuss different themes. So those are our two kind of yoga-based programs and our mindset program, expanding on that to be online. Then we also offer a few different trainings. So for clinicians, we offer a training called our Love Your Brain training for health professionals. And for yoga teachers or people who've experienced a TBI or are a caregiver, we also have a level 1 and level 2 training, which all of these trainings really dive deep into what is traumatic brain injury, how can yoga and meditation be supportive. They dive into our specific program that we've done some research in, talk about resilience, about facilitating a group discussion and that community piece, which is so important. So really dives into a lot, and each of these are a 20-hour training. And then lastly, we have a retreat program. So this is a 5-day intensive residential retreat program that we offer currently in Maine and Colorado. And so individuals with TBI and caregivers come to our retreat, which is really focused on mindfulness, nutrition, yoga and meditation, and community building, both at just beautiful locations in nature. And we also have an online caregiver retreat that's really more focused on the needs and experiences of caregivers exclusively. So I know that was a lot. So if there's anything you want me to expand on, just let me know.
Well, and it's grown so much. I think even since I joined you guys in 2020, that retreat, I don't think was around then, but I'm already thinking of multiple clients with their spouses that would really benefit. I've seen a theme a little bit in my own clinical practice lately of having people in their 30s and 40s who have kids and a spouse and that brain injury, and how it's really impacted the family, and how it's hard when you're a mom and you're wanting to be with your kid, but you need to rest, and being away from your kid for a few minutes means you can go back and be the mom that you want to be, but being away so frequently is hard. And then it's hard on the spouse who wants to have that family unit together and may not understand brain injury as well. I feel like it's so much of the Brainthropology mission, but with a retreat and a beautiful setting involved, which I'm really envious. Now I want to go.
Yes. Well, we're always looking for volunteers either to work in the kitchen or to serve in a health professional role. So that's definitely an open opportunity for you and anyone listening if they're interested. And when you were speaking, it really just made me think that one of the biggest takeaways I've heard from people who come on retreats is this feeling of validation in their experience, because everyone there understands what it's like to have a brain injury. Everyone has different experiences and different severities and everything, but this commonality of, I don't have to explain why I need to go take a nap now, or I don't have to explain why all of a sudden my sentences aren't coming together how I want them to, or my vision's getting blurry. It's just this really magical space where people can just do what they truly need, and then hopefully take that skill and bring it into their real life too.
Yeah, I think that connection piece that you guys are providing, it's the big missing link, because not everyone knows another survivor unless you're in a clinic setting or somewhere else where everybody's in that space. But even there, you may not have them when you go home, and challenges in a clinic aren't the same as once you're back home with your friends and family, and those things change. And I have seen people going through major injuries who, when their friends get it, and especially if their friends can come into therapy sessions with them, we can talk about it, and it can be magical. But that retreat where you could be fully immersed, build a community, and hopefully they're able to stay connected when they go back home would be awesome.
Yeah, we hear all the time about different people meeting up either in person or online, because people come from across the country. So depending on just who they connect with, but knowing that they're able to find a little pocket of community that they can keep with them is really, really valuable.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm definitely getting out there one day. I'm not going to lie. That is already I'm marking my mental calendar to check in on that. So why did you guys decide to do a yoga and meditation and Well, the part I know is yoga, meditation, and that support group all rolled into one. So, what led the original people for Love Your Brain Yoga to go down that pathway for yoga and mindfulness?
Yeah, I think there were a couple things that all sort of came together. One piece was Kevin himself, I believe, no, maybe 5 years or so after his original injury, experienced his first yoga class and felt a sense of relief and a sense of like reconnection to his body. So that was kind of one piece of kind of planting the seed. And then also our senior director of programs, Kyla Pierce, who is the wife of Adam Pierce, who is Kevin's brother, if you can keep the family tree straight. She is a yoga teacher and also a now has her doctorate, her PhD, and so was really interested in the research side of it. And so initially what Love Your Brain offered was a pilot program that was at the time an 8-week program that included yoga and meditation. And from that got feedback and observed that people were wanting to connect. So they were naturally staying after class or coming early to have conversations and connect, and also gave feedback that they would like time to, more formally interact with others. And so that's really how our now evidence-based 6-session curriculum came to be. Really found that people were getting benefits from the yoga and meditation piece and added in this structured group discussion and psychoeducation around different themes related to promoting resilience.
I love the support group piece of it where it does focus on optimism and the resilience. And I loved the structured pathway that you guys did with that because it was the perfect piece. And so many people would come into our program, which ours, we started in person and then immediately halfway through tried to flip to virtual. And that did not, unfortunately, end well, as many things did right in the very beginning of the pandemic.
We had a similar experience just in evolving to what is now our Love Your Brain Mindset program. Is we would, we had our yoga program partners in the US and Canada, and we would have interest from other countries, from, Australia, from the UK. And at that time, we weren't really able to reach those people. We have tons of free online resources like a meditation library and yoga videos, but this interactive piece wasn't available until we had to evolve from COVID. And now we're able to have different Love Your Brain Mindset programs in different time zones. We have a facilitator who actually lives in New Zealand, so can offer it in his time zone. And yeah, it's just really, I think what you're speaking to is just opening up this larger community that exists all around the world that never would have been able to be accessed before. And it's so cool.
It really is cool. And I think that the yoga and mindfulness, they kind of calm that system down, get you back in your body. Because I feel like a lot of times after a brain injury, some people need to kind of escape. If you're in your body in that moment of pain, it would be a real challenge. And I think it's a natural protective response to kind of mentally let it go and ignore those sensations. But eventually, if that's happened, you have to get back in your body. And that mindfulness and the yoga, it connects you back into yourself. But that discussion where you build community, it's the perfect combination of calming it, getting back in your own body, and then connecting with others in a way that really helps you heal and move forward in a very powerful way.
Yeah, and I've participated in some brain injury support groups as, a guest speaker or met with people who have done different support groups and have sometimes heard that it can be really intimidating to go into a support group where we're talking about difficult things. There's going to be emotions that come up. And, that can just it can be super helpful, and it can be intimidating to make that first step into it. And I think it's really helpful having the yoga and meditation first before the discussion. Exactly what you said. It helps people ease into the experience as a whole, and also can help people regulate and calm their nervous system so they're in maybe a more regulated place where they can access some emotions or just be more open to conversation that doesn't feel, it certainly negative emotions come up, challenges come up, but there's a theme around resilience where we're not trying to ignore the difficult pieces, and we're also trying to reveal people's resilience that they have built because they're here. And so like really trying to have that kind of positive take on it as well.
And I would say these support groups are the best I've ever been in because it does give you that natural introduction. It's weird to walk into a room and then just instantly start saying all the challenges you're having in life. That's not a natural way we interact with other humans. Usually we meet you in a workout class is how I make all my friends when I move to a new city. As I go to a workout class, I start chit-chatting with people and I build a connection and a community. And for me, since that's how I've naturally made friends, this makes so much sense to go in, do a structured activity together. So by the time you talk, it's not like it's the first time you're meeting someone. And the facilitators, when they do a really good job of just maybe they're the ones that speak first and share their experience, and that opens it up to everyone else along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So one of the things that I also appreciate about Love Your Brain Yoga is the research behind it. She's brilliant. She is a magical person. You can see it when you meet her. She is kindness and brilliance all bundled together in a beautiful package. Mm-hmm. And she has really seemed to put a big focus on research. And for our program, I know that when we have people register with the program, that registration form is actually a series of quality of life surveys so that we can take before measures and after measures of the effectiveness of the program. So can you speak a little bit about what type of research you guys have completed with this information and what were the results of your research?
Absolutely. Yeah. Being a clinician, this was also something that really excited me about Love Your Brain because I've done other yoga-based trainings and been involved in other yoga programs and curriculums. But having the evidence base, I think, really just helps to bridge that gap between kind of something that might feel like it's outside of traditional practice and really tangible outcomes. So I mentioned the pilot study that we did that was really just kind of looking at the feasibility and figuring out what works. And like I mentioned, adding in that discussion portion. And then we also did some qualitative research, and qualitative research is when you're getting information that isn't numbers based, but is more information about people's experiences and what they've taken away. And so in our qualitative study found that people, we asked what their takeaways were from participating in the 6-week program. And they found that things that were most supportive were a feeling of belonging, that the program could be adapted. There was a sense of safety that came out of it. And they found that they felt they had improved self-esteem and self-efficacy after participating in the program. So this was, just really exciting to hear people's authentic takeaways in their own words. And then we've also done a qualitative research study that is actually the largest, quantitative research study, which is the largest quantitative study on yoga and meditation for TBI to date. And quantitative research is, again, looking at numbers and specific data and marking change over time. And so in this study, we looked at about 1,000 individuals who had participated in our yoga and meditation program. And that included individuals with TBI and caregivers. Then we looked at who were able to complete the form that you mentioned, both before participating in the program and after. And so we were able to look at the pre and post data for about 705 people with TBI. And from this, in 4 out of the 5 outcomes that we tracked, we found significant improvements, meaning there was enough change to demonstrate that the program had an impact in these areas and wasn't just due to chance, essentially. And these outcomes were quality of life, resilience, positive affect and well-being, and cognition. The only outcome we didn't see significant improvements in was emotional and behavioral regulation. But in our qualitative research, people shared themes around being better able to regulate emotions. So even though it wasn't captured in that particular study, there's still some implication on that. And then most recently, we published a study about our retreat program, which actually did find significant improvements in those outcomes, including the emotional and behavioral regulation. So it's been really interesting to see pretty consistently improvements in some key areas, whether people are participating in a 6-week program in person or online, or this 5-day intensive retreat program. So yeah, really, really excited about research and really proud of that.
That's amazing. I think there are ideas of things that we think can help, but once you really put the numbers to back up what you're doing, it makes it such an impactful program. And from firsthand experience with people that have joined the program through Galaxy, it definitely, the numbers match our experience with our people. And it's been a beautiful bright spot and part of our give back that we like to do at Galaxy. So I would love to hear, as we start to wrap up, what is your biggest moment with Love Your Brain? What is your story that kind of just lights you up and kind of fills your bucket on a hard day? What is something amazing that you have experienced with your program?
I can honestly think of so many examples, but one that's popping to mind is from really early on in offering the Love Your Brain program in person in Boston. I had an individual who came who had a pretty severe TBI, and his language was significantly impacted. It was really hard for him to come up with the words that he wanted. He could understand everything just fine, but for the discussion piece, you could just tell at the beginning he was just really struggling and really uncomfortable with that piece. And the first week or two, he would respond with just a one-word sentence, and just, yeah, what kind of, I got the sense that he was trying to take up as little time as possible to not inconvenience anyone with his struggle. And so what was really beautiful was by the end, the last week, we talk about gratitude and ask people what they're grateful for, what their takeaway is. And it took him a long time, but he just shared that he was so grateful for learning new tools. And he also came with his mom, so the experience of connecting with his mom. But my big takeaway was just the fact that he trusted himself and trusted the environment and the people to take up the space he deserved to communicate his feelings. And it was just such a beautiful moment, and just recognizing like his value and that he is, worth the time to struggle through and talk about whatever he wants to share. And that was certainly not what I expected to get out of a yoga and meditation program, but also just makes a lot of sense given the flow of the program and what we're trying to cultivate in that community.
And that's the biggest thing. I hope everyone who's listening will go to the Love Your Brain Yoga website and explore and see all the resources that you guys have. And if possible, if you have someone that you would like to do it with you, that's the best part about so many of the resources that you provide, is they're for the person who has been through a brain injury. They are for the person who is by their side, helping them through that process. And I know you guys don't intend it this way, but we use it for pretty much everyone in our clinic, right? Like we haven't limited it just to brain injury survivors. We have other clients who are struggling with mild cognitive impairments and different things like that. And they feel that same sense of community and support as well. So can you share with us the best place to learn more about the program?
Yes, so loveyourbrain.com is the best way to find information. You can sign up for our newsletter. You can also sign up for different programs. And specifically, I think the most accessible way to kind of try out Love Your Brain, see if it feels right for you, is what we have as our Love Your Brain Mindset program. And that can be accessed on your own time. You just sign up and then you get weekly emails. So you can just try that out. You'll get an educational video, a meditation, a yoga practice, and also a longer form meditation called Yoga Nidra. So you'll get that emailed all to you. And like you mentioned, it's tailored for the TBI experience, and it's appropriate and really meets the needs of people with all different types of experiences and diagnoses. So if you're not sure, that can be a great way to try that out. And then if you like it, you can also sign up for a program that includes like a live component with Zoom meetings, or even come to a retreat in person. So yeah, lots of different ways to dip your toe in and then decide if you want to dive in and come join us for something.
Yeah, and as a clinician, before I even joined you guys for the training, I would pull up your meditations on my computer and we would do them in our sessions. If I had a client who was getting dysregulated or just having a bad moment, we would actually use your website. So it is a great tool for clinicians to explore as well, because you are part of that bigger support system for people. So look at the resources. I think everyone could benefit from looking through your website. They can also support you guys through purchases on your website that go towards your program, because you guys are a nonprofit program, and being able to support you guys in different ways through purchases. I was telling Jackie before we got started, I was really hoping for a sweatshirt, and I wanted to make sure the sleeves were long enough because I have a tank top on today. But it's one of my favorite, and it brings me a sense of pride that, one, I love the program, I love what they stand for, and my purchase went and supported you guys, which made me very happy.
Thank you. Yeah, and the thing that we didn't mention yet, as a nonprofit, all of our programs are completely free. So if someone listening wants to access a program, it is free. And we're always, supportive of receiving donations in any way, shape, or form, whether that's buying product or just a one-time donation. Different campaigns and different opportunities happen each year. We have a golf event each year. We have a virtual bike riding called the Ride for Resilience for people to get more involved and raise funds. But our mission is to keep programs free for people. So as a nonprofit, having that donation piece is really, really supportive for that.
As we end our podcast today, I want to thank you, Jackie, for joining us, for sharing your passion, the mission of Love Your Brain Yoga. And as always, be courageous and move forward in your day with hope, joy, and purpose. Thank you.
While we love what we do and are as passionate as they come, the information on this podcast and discussion is for educational purposes only and should not replace professional medical advice. Please consult your own healthcare provider if you are seeking medical advice, diagnoses, or treatment for you or anyone else. We do our very best to provide correct information, but please understand science and medicine is ever-changing. We welcome feedback, comments, suggestions, or correction of errors. This disclaimer applies to any guest or contributors to the podcast or blog.